Hey guys, Boone down south here. So I just got back from a hunt with Ironman Outdoors near Camden, Alabama. Had a great time on this hunt. I'd like to tell you guys about it. I ended up getting a nice buck on the trip. Got a little bit of footage of it, not the best, but got a little bit of footage, not the best. Anyway, I want to share that with you, so hit that like and subscribe. All right, guys, so listen, I went to Ohio like I do every year. And of course, I've been going to different properties over the last 15, 18 years. It seems like finally, it really takes 2 years to learn a property. And by the time we get there, it's 2 years and we really know the property, and the property gets sold or something happens and bouncing around. And this year was just a nice piece of property. Man, I didn't see a deer to the last day. And this is Ohio. I mean, just the land had been so overhunted, and came back just not feeling great about it. And I heard about Ironman Outdoors in the past. I didn't know a lot about it. I knew it was a nonprofit Christian-based organization. I actually had a buddy that went on a hunt, I think in Ohio several years ago, and I think he even volunteered a time or two with them, or maybe he still does, I'm not sure. But anyway, I came back with Ohio just kind of all down that, didn't even see a deer until the very last morning, just saw one on the whole trip, just awful, So I was looking at this, and they had some 3-day hunts in Alabama in January, and the timing seemed really good for that, and I've always wanted to hunt in Alabama, and so I talked to my wife, I'm like, what do you think about this? She's like, yeah, go ahead and do it, and so I went ahead and booked with them. Took a trip out to Alabama on this hunt, and I got to tell you guys, it was awesome. So today I'm in Alabama. I'm gonna go hunting out here. Never been out hunting here before. I'm on a retreat with Ironman Outdoors, and we're somewhere near Camden, Alabama, not far off the Alabama River. What's behind me, I think, is a little tributary, or a little offshoot from the Alabama River there. And now we're gonna do a little deer hunting, and hogs are available as well. Let me tell you a little bit about Ironman Outdoors. First of all, they're a nonprofit organization, and like I said, I don't know, I'm not affiliated with them anyway. I just went out there on my own. I didn't know anybody on this trip. I think I walked away with some friends though. Their mission is really to connect men with Christ through these group settings and hunting retreats, and fishing. They do fishing retreats too. And so you pay for the hunt, you go on the hunt. It's basically a guided hunt, and I've never been on a guided hunt before. I've only been on these self hunts, do it yourself. We pack everything in. We're scouting. We're working nonstop because you're setting stands, moving stands, up and down mountains, and packing your stuff out, the whole deal. So this is a guided hunt. They've got places to hunt around the southeast. They've got stands set up. They've got feeders in some locations, depending on the type of hunt and whatnot. They take you out, set you up, they cook for you, lodging's included. Never been on a hunt like this at all, okay? So one of their requirements is that you attend their manhood discussions that you have every day on your hunt. That might sound weird to some of you out there. Let me just throw this out. They're a Christian organization, and again, their mission is connecting men with Christ. But it's not a in your face, let me preach at you kind of thing at all. It's really just get a group of guys together with a common interest: hunting, fishing. Let them be real for a little bit, and it's a wide age group. On the trip that I went on, the youngest guy was 21, and the oldest gentleman was 75. So there's a wide range of people from all backgrounds coming there. During these manhood discussions, they bring up different topics and ask guys to speak on some things, and they're not forcing you to say anything. They're not putting anything in your face like that, or shoving things down your throat, or Bible verse in your death, or anything like that. But it's really just more of an authentic setting, so guys can share some of the troubles they've had, how people have overcome some things. Look, I'm a Christian, and I've got my problems. Okay, we're not perfect at all, and that's the very authentic way that they kind of do these discussions. So it's not for Christians per se. It's for anybody that wants to come on these hunts. That's just one of the requirements you have to attend. Those sessions, they're about 45 minutes or so once a day. I got to tell you, man, I just had a great time. The pro staff or field staff, I'm not sure which is what. Like I said, I'm not affiliated with the organization, but they did a great job. I mean, these guys really worked to make sure that each one of us not only had a good hunt, but just a great time overall. I really enjoyed it. Let me tell you how these hunts work. There's a 3-day hunt in Alabama, and basically you get there like noon the first day. You have a safety discussion. Then they take us out to hunt that first evening, but we draw stands. So everybody's got a fair shot at what stand they're going to get. We draw stands, and the idea is you're going to hunt that stand spot or shooting house or blind that evening and then the next morning. After lunch on the next day, you will draw again and change places. And actually on the property that we hunted, there was one doe tag that anybody could take, and they drew for that too. And several guys opted not to take the doe tag, but a doe was taken finally on the trip. So that's kind of how it works. So you change your stand spot for the 3 days, and on the third day you'd hunt that morning and then head home typically. So my trip, I'm just gonna call them spot A, B, and C. So my first spot was spot A, and took me out there, and my spot was behind or past another spot that they dropped off another person, one of the younger guys in the group, and they dropped him off, and man, I'm telling you, there was hog sign everywhere where we dropped him off. And then I headed down several hundred yards more and hunted that night, right about dark. I had a buck and a doe come in, too dark to really tell how big the buck was, didn't look that big, but saw deer the very first night. The younger gentleman behind me, he shot a hog. That was his first ever hog, and it was a little boar, well, not little, average sized boar, and he was just tickled to death about it. It was pretty cool. So that night, came back, had a full course meal for us and desserts, and I mean, it would just bang up. Went out the next morning, and so they packed us out there, and by the way, we stayed in the state park campground. They had some cabins reserved for us, and what was cool about the state park, I think it was called Roland Cooper State Park in Alabama. And what's cool about it, this park is a state park that caters to deer hunters. They had a gutting, skinning station set up with gambrels and hoists and the whole deal, and hoses for us, and it was great to clean your deer with. It was awesome, really. And I've never seen that before in state park. But anyway, so the next morning we go out, go to our same spots. That morning, the younger gentleman was for me. He spooked like about 30 pigs coming out of his stand that day. I had a 6-point come in on me. He didn't like what was going on. He turned around and went back the way he came, but seeing deer. The next day, it was going to rain that night, and I drew a shooting house to go out to. So it's one thick country, totally different terrain, and it's kind of like reminiscent of hunting some of the thick places in Florida where I grew up, and it's also reminiscent, or it makes me think of like Texas with the short mesquite type trees, but it was super thick. You'd walk down this road, thick on both sides. The trees maybe peaked at like 12-15 feet, so there's no tree standability. It was too thick to even put a tree stand out there. But they had this shooting house called the Trump House, or Trump Tower, I'm sorry, and it was right in the road, and it faced down, and 110 yards straight down the road they had a feeder set up, and that feeder went off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 4:01 the deer were there, and they were there till dark. I mean, in and out. Does were kicking at each other. It was basically doe group, and I think there was some button bucks in there, but mainly doe groups were coming in, and they were I just got a lot of that footage I was able to zoom in on and see some of that. It was fun to watch. And of course, went back that night and had a nice meal, had our manhood discussion, go back out the next day, and I'm in that same spot, and it rained all night, which was great because the rain really didn't hit us, but we rained all night, and got back in that stand. And I mean, it wasn't even light yet. We got out there in plenty of dark, and I'm trying to nap and stand there waiting for it to get light, and it's barely getting light. And I pull out my rangefinder because it's got a 4X on it, and I just kind of look, and I'm like, oh, it's 6:20 in the morning, barely any light, and I've already got 2 deer down there, and it was a doe and a button buck. They were there for a little while, they left, and at 7 o'clock that feeder went off, and at 7:01 the deer were there. So for the next 2 hours, there was deer coming in and out and chasing each other off. And I'm gonna tell you, they knew even though I was 110 yards away in this shooting house blind, they knew something was down there because they watched me intently. There was always a doe just staring right down the road, see if anything's going to move down there, something's going to happen. So we get into our last hunt space, go back for lunch, draw stands again. I got another spot, different terrain. It was ladder stand, and I'm going to tell you, the ladder stands you in, they were really nice. They were these Millennium ladder stands that were the bigger versions of them, very comfortable. They were solid, tied up. They had the safety straps, the lifelines there, and the whole deal. And you had to have, if you're hunting a stand, you had to have a safety harness too, so for safety purposes. And so anyway, this area, I'm talking hog rooting all over. I mean, all over. I mean, they were everywhere. So I thought for sure, man, tonight's night I'm gonna get a pig. And I used to hunt those in Florida years ago when I lived there, and I haven't done that since. So anyway, I'm hunting there at night, thinking I'm just gonna get a hog, and if I don't get one tonight, it'll probably be first thing in the morning. I'm gonna have a hog out here, because I mean, rooting was everywhere. In this stand, I had a lot of visibility. I could see out there right a good distance, out to the left a good distance, that away. Behind me was super thick, so I really couldn't see much behind me. But sitting there that night, and we're getting to that last half-hour period, and golly, this deer shows up 45 yards right in front of me. I mean, it must have just walked straight to me behind trees, because I never saw it coming from the left or the right or the roadbed, and all of a sudden, there it is. It's just right there in front of me. It's facing me, and it's putting its head down and bobbing up a little bit. It never looked right at me, but it was always facing me, so I couldn't move to get the camera, either the iPhone camera or the Canon camera, to zoom in and get a good view of this thing. But I could tell the way it was moving that it didn't like the situation. And so I don't know if it didn't like the hog sign that was there or what, but head kept going down and did one of those, like it's going to turn around and walk back out the way it came kind of thing. But when it's facing me, it looked like it was outside the ears, and we did have a 15-inch minimum and 4 points on one side rule for the deer. And in that lighting, it looked like he was just outside the ear, and I thought he would have hit the 15 inches. And he started to turn around, and when he turned, I was able to pull up my scope and get on him, and I could see he had 4 points on one side without the brow tine. So I didn't want him to go far, and I thought he was going to turn around. He stepped one more. I still has just an opening through the brush. I could see his body, and I pulled the trigger and dropped him. I couldn't get it on film. He was right there. He just, I don't know where he came from. He just showed up. And he was facing me. And I couldn't move to turn the cameras on. And it was, I saw his rack. He looked like he's outside the ears. So I felt like he hit the 15-inch minimum. And, but he didn't like something. He started to walk away. And I could see he had 4 points on one side. So I took the shot and I dropped him right there. Oh, I gotta stop shaking now. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Lord. There's not much light here, unfortunately. But, look at this thing. Oh, I'm so excited. I am so excited. That's awesome. He's a beautiful buck. Man, oh man. Look at this thing. Check this out. Beautiful buck here. Thank you, Lord. Beautiful, beautiful. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my gosh, it's a 10 point. I thought it was a 9. Oh, golly. Oh, wow. Wow. First time hunting in Alabama, guys. Wow. So on this hunt, it really just had a great outcome. If I'm not mistaken, there were 6 hogs that were killed on this trip. There was 1 doe and 2 bucks that were killed on this trip. That's a good bit of game. And if you consider, I think there was 12 or 13 of us total. 3 of that was pro staff members that were working. And they had 1 member that was, I'm not sure if field staff or pro staff, that was actually hunting on this trip. But these guys were really fantastic, and that's really a great outcome. I mean, it's just a lot of game that was taken. I saw game every time I sat in a stand, which, I mean, that's tough to do. I mean, even for outfitters that take you out. I mean, and not everybody saw game every time they were in a stand, but everybody saw game and saw a good bit of it. It was just a great hunt. But I'm gonna tell you, I had such a good time with Ironman Outdoors and the guys that were on this hunt and their staff that I already decided even before that moment, I was gonna talk to them. I said, hey, listen, you know what? I think I'd like to do 2 of these Ironman hunts next year. It was just such good camaraderie, good group of guys, had a great time together. They really took care of us. And so I would encourage you to take a look at Ironman Outdoors. I mean, it was a really good hunt, had a great time, and I made that decision before I shot a 10 point, and the 10 point just solidifies everything, right? So, you know, I came home on cloud 9 from that. Again, these guys are fantastic. Again, encourage you to try it out, but I'll definitely be back. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video, and we'll catch you next time.